The Dollar Enigma, a disturbing look at its present and future. Hook from the first second. Are you ready to delve into the mystery surrounding the most powerful currency on the planet? The US dollar, the undisputed king of global finance, is at an inflection point. Something strange is happening, something the headlines aren't quite telling you. In recent months, we have witnessed unexpected movements, plot twists that have experts on the edge of their seats. What awaits the dollar? Are we witnessing the beginning of a changing of the guard in the world economy? Prepare to discover the hidden truth behind the numbers. For decades, the dollar has been the pillar of the global economy, the reserve currency par excellence. Its stability has been a rock in times of uncertainty, but the rock is showing cracks. To understand the future, we must analyze the present, the current quotation, beyond the cold numbers. As of today, May 14th, 2025, the dollar's quotation presents a complex and, for some, disconcerting picture. While the figures vary slightly depending on the currency it is compared against, we observe trends that break with historical patterns. For example, the euro is trading around 1.11 $12 per euro, while the British pound is around $1.3205 per pound. Against the Japanese yen, the dollar is near 147.66 yen per dollar. But beyond these numbers, the real story is hidden in the volatility and unusual movements of recent weeks. Early May data showed some recovery, although analysts warn that caution prevails in the market. Investors are nervous and for good reason. April 2025, the cruelest month for the dollar. Let's go back in time to a month that many in the financial world will not forget. April 2025. T.S. Eliot wrote that April is the cruelest month, and for the dollar this statement seemed to be unsettlingly fulfilled. Against all apparent logic, the dollar experienced one of its largest monthly declines since 2009, falling by as much as 4.9% in April alone. What was truly disconcerting was that this fall coincided with an increase in U.S. interest rates. Historically, a rise in U.S. interest rates usually strengthens the dollar, as it attracts foreign investors seeking higher returns. But in April, this relationship dramatically reversed. What caused this anomalous behavior? The answers point to a series of interconnected factors, weaving a web of uncertainty that still hangs over the U.S. currency today: the shadow of tariffs and trade policy. One of the main catalysts for the dollar's weakness in April was the announcement of new and widespread tariffs by the U.S. administration. These measures, aimed at various trading partners, generated deep concern in global markets. The imposition of tariffs was perceived as a risk to U.S. economic growth, leading investors to reevaluate their positions in dollar-denominated assets. Uncertainty about the direction of trade policy and the fear of an escalation of protectionist tensions undermined confidence in the greenback. Central banks at a crossroads. Another key factor has been the divergence in monetary policies among major central banks. While the U.S. Federal Reserve has given signals that could point to a pause or even a reversal in its tightening cycle, the European Central Bank, ECB, and other central banks are navigating their own waters. Changing expectations about future rate cuts or hikes in different jurisdictions have generated volatility in currency pairs, putting downward pressure on the dollar against currencies like the euro and the pound. Economic data, an incomplete puzzle. Economic data released in April and May have also contributed to the uncertainty. Indicators such as GDP figures, inflation, job openings, and consumer confidence have presented a mixed picture. While some data suggest a possible slowdown in the U.S. economy, others show some resilience. This lack of a clear direction in the data has made it difficult for analysts and investors to form a conclusive opinion about the health of the economy and, therefore, the future strength of the dollar. May 2025, a reprieve or the calm before the storm. The beginning of May seemed to bring a slight respite for the dollar, with some stabilization and even a modest recovery against some currencies. However, caution remains the watchword. The narrative of a weakened dollar has been challenged by moments of optimism about potential trade agreements, but the underlying fragility persists. Early May employment figures and pending decisions from key central banks, such as the Bank of England, are keeping markets on edge. The possibility that U.S. economic data will continue to disappoint leaves the door open for further dollar weakness. The future of the dollar, a blurred horizon. Looking ahead, the path for the dollar appears uncertain and full of challenges. Several analysts suggest that the currency could experience further weakness in the coming months, especially if trade tensions persist and economic data continue to indicate a slowdown. However, it is crucial to remember that the dollar remains the world's primary reserve currency, and the U.S. economy retains fundamental strengths. Although some see room for a cyclical decline, few predict an imminent loss of its dominant status. Factors to watch in the coming months include U.S. trade policy. Will the imposition of tariffs continue, or will there be a shift towards negotiation? Federal Reserve decisions. When and at what pace will interest rates be adjusted? Global economic performance. Will Europe and other regions achieve stronger growth that can boost their currencies against the dollar? Geopolitical events. Any new global crisis could, paradoxically, temporarily strengthen the dollar as a safe haven asset. Conclusion: prepare for uncertainty. The enigma of the dollar is far from being solved. April and May 2025 have shown that the U.S. currency is vulnerable to a combination of economic and political factors. Recent movements have broken with historical patterns, leaving investors and analysts wondering what will come next. The future of the dollar is not written. It will depend on how trade policies unfold, central bank decisions, and the global economic landscape. One thing is certain: the journey will be volatile and full of surprises. Stay informed, analyze the data with a critical eye, and prepare for uncertainty. The fate of the dollar, and with it, a significant part of the world economy, hangs in the balance. Will this be the beginning of a new chapter or simply a temporary turbulence in the long and fascinating history of the greenback? Time will tell, and we will be here to tell you about it. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our upcoming investigations into the future of money. The mystery continues.